Today, the case for Kamala Harris, the signs as clear as day. And the number one sign is that Harris, simply put, is more popular than Donald Trump.
So Kamala Harris is going to win. Here's why, and here's how.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, the why Harris is going to win is remarkable in two ways. First, people love her. And secondly, people hate him. Now, if you're MAGA, I'll talk slower, but listen and think about what Trump says about her and what that says about him.
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black.
I'm running against a low IQ individual.
I'm a better looking person than Kamala.
Kamala Harris is a C word.
I mean, who likes that guy? No one. No one. How would you feel if the Democrats called your mom the C word? Well, don't worry. We don't. Trump's support is built on a girdle that holds up his man titties. Oh, I'm sorry, not that kind of support. I'm talking about ignorance, hate, anger, and bigotry, which coincidentally is also Kid Rock's backup band.
Bud Light.
So how important is being liked?
Today, Harry, we talked about the winning factors if Donald Trump
Correct.
win the race. Today, you're looking at Kamala Harris. So what's the factors?
So yesterday was Donald Trump. Today, the case for Kamala Harris, the signs as clear as day. And the number one sign is that Harris, simply put, is more popular than Donald Trump. Her net favorable rating is higher than Trump. She's at -2, Trump's at -7. I went all the way back since 1956 and looked at the polls. Does the more popular candidate usually win? The answer is absolutely yes. 16 times the more popular candidate has won. Only one time the less popular candidate has won. I will note that was Donald Trump back in 2016. But of course, remember, Hillary Clinton was quite unpopular herself. But the bottom line is this. Kamala Harris has been consistently more popular in the polls than Donald Trump is. She's consistently had a higher net favorable rating than Donald Trump. And normally, usually, the candidate who's more popular goes on to win on Election Day.
Democrats are fond of that saying, forget the polls, when we vote, we win.
Yes.
And you see something in that.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the special elections, right? Democrats in special elections, their performances the last 2 years. What has happened? We're looking at state legislative and federal special elections. On average, these Democrats have surpassed Joe Biden's 2020 margin by 2 points. By 2 points. And remember, Joe Biden won. So the fact that these Democrats have been doing better than Joe Biden's been doing is a good sign. Historically speaking, there is correlation between how folks do in the special elections, especially in this polarized era, and how folks do eventually in the presidential election. It was actually one of the warning signs last time around in 2020, where Democrats really weren't doing that great in special elections, despite the polls saying that Joe Biden was going to win rather easily. It suggested Trump would do better on Election Day. This time around, the special elections are suggesting the opposite, that in fact Joe Biden, because Democrats have been exceeding Joe Biden's margin, that maybe Democrats will actually do better than the polls have been indicating.
But what about two factors?
Yeah.
One, the right track, wrong track. Country, so few people think the country is going on the right track right now.
Yeah.
And also something you pointed out yesterday as a factor, which is Biden's bad approval rating.
Yeah. So yesterday I pointed out that very few people think the country is going on the right track. Very few people approve of Joe Biden's approval rating. You can see it right here. In 2024, it's just 28% who say the country's on the right track. 40% approve of Joe Biden's job. But remember, in 2022, these metrics look awfully similar. In fact, slightly less believe the country was on the right track, slightly more approved of Joe Biden's job, but very similar numbers here. And remember, even though the top metrics were bad for Democrats in 2022, the White House party did historically well in that midterm. So the bottom line is, Kate, a lot of Democrats believe when voters vote, they win. And with abortion being a much bigger issue this time around than historically speaking when it was in 2022, Democrats did historically well. Perhaps Democrats will surprise a lot of folks and do historically well come next Tuesday.
You see, people love Kamala Harris because she's tough, she's fair, and most importantly, she's smart. And Trump, he's not tough, he's not fair, and, well, you know.
Just this week it was reported that an illegal alien...
From day one, Kamala has inspired both the hope and aspirations of Americans looking for a leader with values and empathy, but also someone who wasn't insane.
Christians will not be safe with Kamala Harris as President of the United States. If you're Catholic, there is no way you can be voting for these people.
You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab him by the pussy.
So Harris will win, and the why is simple. More people like her than the guy shitting his pants and blaming it on you.
We need every voter. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care.
But here's the question. Do people like her more simply because she's running against this?
If you don't like our religion, then we don't want you in our country.
I don't think so. I think Harris is liked because she represents where the country is headed. A diverse nation of different colors and beliefs, unified by the tolerance, compassion, and understanding of, wait for it, the very groups of people who have fought for centuries for equality. I honestly don't understand the courage and strength of minorities and women and how they suppress anger and revenge on those who continue to wish them harm.
Black people are violent, you know.
They have chaos and violence in their communities.
Send the military into these black neighborhoods, make the streets safe. They'll complain about it. It doesn't matter.
We should send in the troops if necessary to restore order.
Enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares?
Harris isn't an outlier, not anymore. She's like many women, a long and hard-fought career culminating in a family. And how do Republicans respond?
A bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
I mean, who likes that guy? Not even his dog. Harris is from and also in a mixed marriage. She's also a woman who has worked her way up and had to listen to the shit that Trump and Republicans fabricate about her simply because she's a woman and she's not white.
You heard that right. A big old C word. In fact, all of the other C words think she's the biggest C word of them all.
But unlike Trump, she says the right things because she believes the right things.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
So that's why she's going to win. Here's how.
Early voting, whether in person or via mail-in ballot, is happening across the country in 48 states. Lady Michelle Obama, who posted a picture holding her mail-in ballot today. Early turnout in the battleground states of Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Michigan is so high, it has broken records.
Well, I think to go back to what you said at the beginning, I mean, the polling has been very steady and consistent now for 6 weeks since the debate happened. I mean, we had confirmation this week in the national polling that in the non-red wave polls, as I call it, the non-Republican polls, the independent polls, they've stayed very steady. Kamala Harris has a modest lead nationally and is in better shape in the battlegrounds. And what we all believed was going to happen now in this close, in these final few weeks, was that our ground advantage, the fact that we're putting more ads up in the air, the fact that the spectacle that they're creating every day, which you guys just talked about, is far more appealing and interesting and compelling than what the other team is doing, that we expected that we would be moving the election towards us.
The how of Kamala Harris's win is threefold, and the first is early voting. As you heard, more Republicans are voting early, but that doesn't mean more Republicans and Democrats are voting. It means that the GOP is finally supporting it, and it really means that afterwards, MAGA can't say that early voting is unfair or undemocratic or whatever. I mean, they'll say it, but too late. They've also joined forces with Americans in the new way of voting. Plus, Americans are learning more and more about the racist origins of the Electoral College and starting up a real discussion of its origins and hopeful demise. And the early indications are that more than 60 million people who have voted are enthused. And to my next point, enthusiasm, that's a Democrat thing, and it's with Harris.
A new poll from the UNH Survey Center shows Vice President Kamala Harris maintaining a lead over former President Donald Trump.
When it comes to enthusiasm, women win hands down, and that's easy to understand. Trump's horrible attacks on Harris and women's reproductive rights is a growing tsunami that Republicans allowed to happen, and Trump doubled down on.
I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them from migrants coming in. I'm going to protect them from...
You know what? So what if he wants to grab pussy? I want to grab pussy.
When women hear that, enthusiasm might be the wrong word. Urgency and anger have turned outsiders into activists, and the early voting numbers are smashing records. Perhaps it's Trump's creepy declarations about women that are behind this.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman.
Yeah, there has to be some form.
The idea that that thing could be in control of women's bodies, a man facing a $100 million fine for rape and defamation of a woman, well, understandably, that has mothers, wives, sisters, and daughters seeing red.
I'm 12 years old. I attend Buffalo Middle School, I play for varsity volleyball, and I run track. My education is very important to me, and I plan on doing great things in life. If a man decides that I'm an object and does unspeakable and tragic things to me, am I a child supposed to carry and birth another child? Am I to put my body through the physical trauma of pregnancy? Am I to suffer the mental implications? A child who had no say in what was being done with my body. Some here say they are pro-life. What about my life? And does my life not matter?
There is something in the air, and for once it doesn't smell like being downwind from Donnie diapers.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that.
And finally, unlike 2020, Biden and Harris are in office to make sure this whole process is fair and transparent. Now, that doesn't mean Trump won't lie about fraud. He's already doing it. Biden is in charge, and not a sociopath and this sofa-humping clown. This time, if 1,000 MAGA ass-kissers want to charge the Capitol, it will be different, and it won't be pretty.
Of course, many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him. They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party.
So yes, Harris will win, and she will win because people like her and people loathe him. Add that up, and what do you get?
It's not fair.
Suck my fat one.
Damn right.
I'm ready. Let's go.
This is not a normal election.
Who's with me?
Yes!
Tick-tock, mother... They're eating the dogs.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
Frack. Trust me.
Shut the fuck up, Darren.
Who's with me?
Oh, yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes!
Tick-tock,
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.